This week, we're bringing you part one of a two-part series hosted by special guest Alexis Williams. Alexis is the general manager overseeing the Accenture partnership with Atlassian. Alexis, tell us a bit about what we'll hear.
Absolutely. While at the SAFE Summit in Denver, Atlassian, Accenture, and Scaled Agile had the opportunity to sit down for a discussion on enterprise agility. From Scaled Agile, we were joined by the amazing Deema Dajani. Deema is an all-star agile transformation expert. She's currently a SAFE Fellow, SPCT, and product manager at Scaled Agile. Last but not least, she's also a co-founder for Women in Agile. Super impressive lady. From Accenture, we had Tracey Nott-Seward sit down with us. Tracey is one of my absolute favorites. She's an executive within Accenture's talent and organization practice. Accenture T&O is really focused on helping clients to reimagine their businesses, build workforces with the leaders and cultures to accelerate change, and create and deliver employee experience. At the end of the day, it's really about enabling the human element of change. And Tracey and Accenture's T&O practice more broadly are a super critical element in our joint mission to unlock true enterprise agility for customers together. From Atlassian, we're very fortunate to have the super talented John May join us. John is a recognized thought leader at Atlassian in Agile at Scale with an emphasis in lean portfolio management. He spent 23 years at Motorola in software development and led the Agile transformation before joining AgileCraft in 2017. With Atlassian, he's focused on helping customers connect their enterprise strategy to all teams and ultimately helping to unleash the potential of every team, which is the core mission here at Atlassian.
Welcome. We are so excited to have all of you here.
Happy to be
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah, great to be.
Deema, welcome and tell us what you've been working on. What's top of mind for you? What have you been up to lately?
First of all, thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure being back with you, John, again, and meeting you, Tracey. We have been really focusing on what does the learner need in their journey in order to embrace this new way of working. So as a product team, we've been focusing on modernizing the learning experience. So yes, the classroom is where we started, and that's a foundation or cornerstone of introducing SAFE. But then what happens beyond the classroom? And how do you engage the individual on a day-to-day basis with continuous learning and practice opportunities so that they are able to do their job in a safe environment and be successful at it? So that's a big thing for us. The other part is, as we are doing this, not only are you sustaining the change, you're also extending the change. So you're going to hear a lot of talk about business agility, enterprise agility, looking at the entire value stream of the organization so we can have more impact.
Such a great point. And I think if we think about even just the last couple of years for all of us, the way that we're working, everyone, the way they're working is completely different and changing. And it's changing probably forever. So we have these conversations as well a lot with our customers just on this future way of working. But I think, we were having some really good conversations about, there can be some amazing training, virtual, whatever the training is. But as soon as you resort back to your desk and your day job, it's just way too easy to also then resort back to the old ways. And the pace in which we're all moving, it's just too easy to also lose the behaviors. Mm-hmm. So we do talk about this sustainable change and this continuous learning, which I think is top of mind for all customers and clients.
And you've heard it in the keynote this week where Dean mentioned the full business agility value stream. We're really starting to look at the full enterprise as a value stream and understanding the flow through it. And that's a driver for many areas of interest, like value stream management. I know, John, you have some really interesting thoughts
there. Love to hear about that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that point of you're going to only see the world in the way you're allowed to see the world. So, one of the very earliest things at SAFE was organizing around value. Easy to say, really hard to do.
Really hard.
So as we get better at understanding how we all come together collaboratively across those silos to talk about how value moves from left to right, so to speak, it's going to be done in a way where we're viewing our enterprise in a new way. It's not teams, accumulated into a hierarchy anymore. There's this ability to talk about a flow from ideation all the way through to what the customer thinks of it. We're not there yet. Right? So getting in there and figuring out how to identify what does that even mean. For those of us that have been looking at value streams for 10, 15 years, even longer, it's tricky, right? You fall into some very difficult conversations that are so far removed from the work we want to go do. Everything we heard this week is a great step forward on all that. But the challenge of identifying the value streams, once again, we need strong partners that have been there, done it, and can start drawing those pictures so you can see differently. Because as you're just getting started, that's one of the most difficult tasks to take on.
And I feel like we're starting to get into conversations around lean portfolio management and how does that go hand in hand with value stream management. Do you have a perspective on what that looks like?
Lean portfolio management is actually attempting to solve for a set of constraints or bottlenecks at the beginning of the value stream management. But basically, if you think about it, to truly be agile and adaptive and nimble, you need to be able to make prioritization and investment decisions on a continuous basis. We're way beyond the days of once a year annual budget cycle. Right now, lean portfolio management has started to introduce this continuous decisioning and visibility that goes along with it to constantly evaluate opportunities. I mean, even within Scaled Agile Inc. as a business, we apply lean portfolio management. The epics that we assess on a regular basis, they have a certain level of rigor and validation. But even those that we decide, you know what, 6 months ago that epic made sense, right now the market has shifted and we see a different trend, we're going to ignore sunk costs and move on with this other thing that we think it's truly going to support our strategy better at this point in time. So it's that evolution, making it more continuous adaptive system is what's critical here.
Yeah, just to add to that, lean portfolio management has always been about how we hand out our money, right? So, there's the human system, only trumped by the money system, right? That we know what calls the shots. But what's really fascinating is to watch how we're starting to see a shift in the way we hand our money out, right? So back in the day, it was done in those long cycles, big piles of money that are supposed to last you for a couple of years. That's not agile, right? It was also done around the concept of a project, which is where, that money goes there and we're gonna drain that bag of money until the project's done. But now the shift is more, how do I, once I find those value streams, those elusive value streams, how do I decide which ones are worthy of investment? How do I put the money in the ones that seem to have figured out this flow of value? They probably deserve some more money compared to the ones where I've got it flowing, but you know what, that feedback loop is showing maybe this isn't where I need to invest anymore.
Right.
They do all come together, but the ability to get value to flow is kind of that precursor to the new way to hand out the money, so to speak.
And we're no longer, to your point, we're no longer handing out money to fund projects, right? That's project cost accounting. We're investing in those persistent value streams.
And that's a great way to say the investment. It's an own investment.
We're investing in a value stream. What's a value stream? It's a construct of people, processes, tooling that are persistent, that are supporting a set of solutions. Now, what flows or what varies, which we need to vary, is the work that's going to come to those value streams. That's the agility.
And also letting them just define the work, right? That's that decentralization piece that's so critical. So at the top where you had top-down command and control, I'm going to hand you the money and I'm going to hand you a plan with that money. Now go. Now I'm investing in you. And I'm trusting that you're probably closer to what needs to be done than I am. So let's check in. Let's make great feedback loops on all this.
So we need Tracey to build trust with those leaders.
If we were to institute what we just described at a client that I'm working with right now, I can hear every business leader, because the CEO is not as engaged as she should be, but I can hear every business leader saying, wait, you're going to not do my value stream? I thought my value stream was the number one value stream. I know it for a fact because we were actually having some of this conversation today. So kind of back to the executive, really senior level sponsorship as well too, and the practices and the trust and all the things that we're talking about. I've got my work cut out for me.
Yeah.
So, but it's a lot of fun, and there's extraordinary value on the other side of this, right? For me, it is, of course, just watching the shift and the change and the pace and the competitiveness of these clients that we're working with. I mean, there is really great outcome for them as a business, and then the human side and the inside of the organization and the trust and resilience. It's another word we haven't used yet. The resilience.
Yes.
The resiliency of the organization.
Our recent research with Lean Agile Centers of Excellence actually brought that term to light over and over and over again. Resilience, sustainability, sustaining the change. People are experiencing the leadership rotations, right?
Yeah.
We just lost our safe sponsor. What do we do now, right?
Yeah.
We were hit with a major disruption. So a big need for these laces is sustainable change. and maybe even at some point self-sustaining change. And you can build that sustainability with great partners, great tooling that kind of works together to reinforce it.
Which actually then builds this resilience as well in an organization, right? So,
Yeah, one thing to touch on your point, John, with Dean's keynote, I think the other thing that was pretty prevalent in that keynote was around flow accelerators. And so, he talked about these 8 flow accelerators, visualization, visibility being one of them. Like, what's your perspective on that? I'd love to hear your take.
Well, yeah, again, back to basics, right? I think, we learned about Kanban early on, and one of the messages I think that day was, Kanban is a first order way to make your work visible and manage your WIP for teams. I think I heard that was some feedback that had been received, and now they were putting it out there in maybe more forceful terms. But this is also where we're really excited as Atlassian, because making the work visible, one of those primary things that we all learned through Kanban, your tools can help with that. And when tools do it right, it does start to help you bridge from I can see my world to I'm getting insights into my world, and that's what's really exciting. And that triggers the behaviors. And if you're ready for the insights, you're going to act on them.
correct.
If you're not ready for it, if you're not enabled to take advantage of that, it won't happen. So tools play one role, but I think the way they present your world back to you, so there's actionable pieces to it, that's what we're working on.
That's
We're
exciting.
also very excited about flow being recognized and spotlighted not only at a particular level, team level, now it's at all levels. You need flow in your investments, you need flow in your value streams, you need flow in your arts, in your solution trains, and you need flow within the team. And all of that starts to interconnect to kind of have the machine to be healthy and running and continuously adapting.
And those views, honestly, are woefully lacking. So, some of the views that we've seen with the value streams feeding other streams and whatnot, we have our work to do. We have work cut out for us to create that view for everybody.
We'll get there.
Absolutely.
So touching on the trends this week that we've heard so far, where do you think the SAFE framework is going? Do you foresee any major changes there? What have you heard from your lens this week?
So we are constantly sensing, we're constantly learning. If you pull up SAFE 1.0, it looks nothing like what we have today. So you've heard recent additions, really embracing, incorporating AI, big data, machine learning. These are facts of life in most SAFE transformations. So we start to integrate that. What's going to happen next? In SAFE is what's going to happen next in the market. We're constantly listening. So it's hard to predict, but I can tell you we're evolving how we're delivering or how our customers are consuming SAFE. Traditionally, we started with trainer-led courses, 2 to 3 days on average. And then you kind of follow through the articles. And we're realizing modern ways of learning have been shifting, and there are far more richer experiences we can provide that individual that is sitting in a SAFE environment trying to do their work in a new way of working. So we're starting to incorporate much more online learning series, bite-sized. There's a category that we've created recently called practice assets, where it's not necessarily an e-learning, but it's something I actually need in order to do the following task, right? I need a checklist, an agenda, a set of slides. I need to facilitate a workshop. Here's some facilitation techniques immediately applicable that you can leverage. And then we also recognize the workforce, millennials and younger. So we're introducing a lot of recognition and badging, micro recognitions, micro certs to allow people to grow with these macro learnings and get the recognition for it.
Right.
And they start to rank them up.
The big picture on TikTok, I'm ready for it.
It is changing. The world of learning is changing. So we are adapting through that and trying to make our platform more conducive to such a new model.
Yeah, that's really exciting. And I think it all goes back to this creating sustainable change, which then builds resilience. And it all just creates this virtuous cycle.
If I could throw a comment on the week too, I had a takeaway. Absolutely agree with what you said, but what I found interesting is with Dean's keynote and some of the emphasis now on value stream management that we're hearing, it's almost a back to basics. So if you think back, it's like take an economic view that we heard about, principle number 1, literally, and then the organize around value, our favorite kidney that we all learned back in the day. those were concepts that were probably ahead of their time.
Yes.
And I think what we're seeing now is a lot more support for how to actually make that happen. And for a lot of us on our SAFE journeys, we kind of skipped past those pages, or we moved on to some other things because it was really hard to nail that down. And I think the learning is, we paid a price for that. So now we're circling back a little bit and recognizing the stuff that was early on, that's still really important. And here's how to do it. And that's what I was excited to see.
Oh, I love that you said it this way. You actually gave me an insight, reflecting back. I think Dean and our framework team have been brilliant in pushing the envelope in two different areas. One area is they're looking ahead, right, into the future, and actually almost introducing the market to something that does not yet exist. And then at the same time as these things like portfolio management was a perfect example. It was ahead of its time at the time, but then implementation started. There was a lot of patterns and learning that got incorporated, and that also made it into the next version. So there's the evolving the framework based on what's actually working, and also evolving the framework based on a futuristic outlook.
Deema, from your perspective, what are the trends sort of driving the need for enterprise agility in today's market? And what is different from before? Like, why now?
We've been hearing the word about disruption for quite a few years. And then the pandemic hit. And I think people really internalized it. And many organizations had to pivot overnight, like our own business. Right? We had to learn how to be remote overnight. We found that in many of our customers, large enterprises, they've come to us and they said that they've accelerated their digital transformations as a result of this true disruption. So now there's an appreciation for, we need to not be able to pivot, but have the environment for whatever disruption that we know or don't know of. We're able to adapt as a whole business, right? Not just the IT silo, not this operation, not this area, but as a whole enterprise. Your finance, your talent strategy, your technology, all of that kind of needs to work together. And to us, that's the definition of business agility.
Yeah, agility went from a concept to something we've all experienced in a shared way. And suddenly we know that it's not going to be the last one we see either.
Yes.
It's a necessity, I think, at this point. I think everyone is realizing that. It's almost, right, in some of the clients that I'm working with, if I don't move this fast, I'm 100% going to get chopped up and eaten up by my competition. You've got employees as well that are saying this new way of working, it's very different, it's very difficult, I don't feel connected, I don't necessarily feel safe at times as well too. So it's almost a necessity, I think, now as we start to think about how we're working with our customers.
Absolutely is. And our position with creating the framework and the IP related to it, that's what we can offer the world. But business agility cannot happen without really well-positioned partner companies that integrate with our customers. So I'd love to hear from you, Tracey, about your view on enterprise agility.
Yeah, so Nord, I've touched on several things right now. It is top of mind for every single company, I feel like, that we're working with right now. They may not call it enterprise agility. They may basically say, I got to move fast. I'm working with a client, as a matter of fact, today, who basically is so very concerned as a startup organization about the competitors that are right behind them. And if they don't move fast, right, and the typical strategy here, they're in trouble. But what that means is the technology deployment, the platforms that they're developing, their talent that they're bringing on, they're growing so very fast, right? It's just, how do we move fast? How do we keep everybody engaged? How do we build the skills and the training? How do we build this agile organization? And they're not even saying those words right now. So in many cases, also what I'm seeing is they don't even know exactly what those words are, but they feel the burning platform underneath them. And I think, I get really excited at Accenture about what we have to bring and what we have to offer, because we've been doing, agility and business agility for a very, very long time. But, I'm getting super excited about the partnership that we're building, where we bring the powers of all of us sitting here and so many of our colleagues, right, to continue this business agility journey together.
I think we're equally excited for the partnership as well and what we can bring to our clients together.
Tune in to the next podcast in this two-part series to hear more from our guests on the evolution of enterprise agility, key ways to engage executives, and predictions about the future of agile adoption.